Hey there. So, we just got back from one of our explorations of the Pacific Northwest and found that our toilet was making this noise. You can probably hear it in the background, which means that a little float here that usually shuts off the water. It's all the way up here, so making any adjustments on this is not going to stop. Sometimes you have a problem where these the seals in the inside here just wear out. Not sure how long this one's been around, but it once it does wear out, where it doesn't block the water from coming in, from the float being pushed up, it does this. And you just got water wasting going down the drain. And living in Arizona, wasting water is not a good thing. It's not a good thing anywhere, but we have such a limited supply that we need to watch what we're doing. So I'm going to shut this off. Go down here, hit the shut off valve here. And what this is going to require is for me to replace this whole stand here, which it looks like this one's a Fluidmaster. No, Fluidmaster. And I'm pretty sure Ace, my local Ace hardware, carries that. So I'm going to remove this out and take you through the process of remove and replace. So first I'm going to go ahead and flush to get this all drained out of here, or most of it. Just do a normal flush. I'm going to hold that open just to let as much go down that drain as possible. Holding it open manually. And since I turned off the water, it's not refilling. Alright, you still, as you can see, have a residual, probably ½ inch down on the bottom, maybe more. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this right here, which is the feeding line, the water line. Since that's shut off down there, and no more water will come in. But once I remove this, you're going to have the water that's still sitting in the bowl there drain out the bottom. So have a bucket ready for it. Alright, so sometimes some of the easiest tools to get this piece off with are what are referred to as channel locks. They have a little adjustment here depending on the size. This is a good tool to have around the house. Gives you a good grip. Just adjust it so it's just the right size. And remember, righty tighty, lefty loosey. So you get it to where you can move it with your hand. It's the best to do it with hand. As you can see, got some water dripping down. I'm going to try to collect it as much as we can with this little cup here. So that's the minimal that dropped out there. When the most is going to come out is when I disconnect this portion right here and remove that piece that we're trying to get out. Alright, so it appears that this little valve here is probably not got a good seal on it anymore, because it's, even though it's shut off, it's still putting water up into the tube. That's not that big of a concern to me, since once this is hooked up properly, it's going to just go into the toilet, and the toilet valve will shut it off. But while I'm fixing this here, as long as it keeps filling up, I'll have to deal with it. Alright, so now I'm going to take this bottom off here.
a bigger. There we go. It looks like I'm going to run out of space in this bucket and do a quick dump. Yeah. Good times, good times. So make sure you get a big enough bucket. Taking this the rest of the way off. And there we go. So after you get that nut off the bottom, it just pulls out from underneath there, and this is the piece you're going to replace. So just back from the local Ace, and they did have a replacement with the Fluidmaster brand. I got the upgraded version for, I think the regular one was like 14, this one was 19. It says it's now quieter and faster, so hey, $3 more. We'll check it out. Well, let's see what we got here. Difficult sometimes doing things one-handed. So side by side, looks like pretty much the same thing. A big noticeable difference is this little valve here, which I guess you can control the flow of the water going into the bowl, which is probably what makes it go faster. Phillips, like it's saying. So we're just going to go ahead and start the installation on this. I'm going to go grab some pipe tape to put on the bottom of that, and we'll get this thing put in. Alright, so I went ahead and did this off camera, but it's pretty self-explanatory. This stuff is super flimsy, and you just wrap it around the threads. It is so thin that it actually, you can see the threads right through the tape. It just gives a little bit of extra seal on the threads. So we're going to put this down into the bowl. Drop this, actually, you know what? First off, I'll make sure that that little seal down there is clean, so we have a good contact. Had some debris around it from just being in there for a while. So now it's clean. I'm going to do the same on the bottom here. Make sure that whole thing's alright. Now we're good. So now we're just going to put it back in the same way it came out. Drop that down. The threads go down into the hole, of course. And there we go. You can see where it came out the bottom. We're going to put this back up onto the threads to secure that piece in there, and then we'll reattach the supply hose. All right, and now righty-tighty, lefty-loosey again. When threads are upside down, it kind of, you almost have to like look up and do the motions as if you're tightening it to figure out which direction it goes. It gets a little confusing at times, but while I'm tightening this, I'm holding the piece in the bowl here that I put down because it's just flopping around without holding it steady. I wouldn't be able to turn this around. I wouldn't be able to turn the nut around the post if I didn't hold it because it'd continuously just spin in the hole. Just want to keep it kind of in place to where you want this to sit at. Making sure it's all out of the way of the flush handle. And as it gets closer here, I feel it tightening up. Now see, I put a good hand tightening on it. Because these are plastic fittings, I wouldn't suggest using too much torque on it. I am going to use a tool just to get one last little, maybe a 1/4 inch turn on it at the most. Just wrench a little. Go with that, and ultimately if it starts leaking out the bottom here, you can just put a little more turn on it, but we won't find that out until we hook the supply line back up. So let's do that. Again, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Get that supply line turned up in there. And this one, I'm just gonna do it hand tight. See how that goes. Dry all this stuff off and make sure it's not leaking out of the hose anymore now that I've got it all connected. Alright, so I don't feel any leakage around any of my connections at this point. I haven't turned on the valve yet, but I know that the valve is got a bad valve in it because it's when it's shut off, it's not totally shut off, it's still leaking. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the valve now, and we're going to hear the toilet start to fill up. I'm going to be checking for leaks and watch the toilet fill up. You may not be able to hear me as well when the toilet's filling up, but I'll be making some adjustments and ultimately try to recap after it does fill up if it got too loud. All right, so first I'm going to turn on the water. And we go up in here, and you can see this little fill valve. This one that I bought, you can adjust the fill valve to make it fill up slower by turning that, so it's just barely coming out now, or you can turn it to where it fills up super quick. And as it's filling, this is the tank adjuster, so I'm going to be adjusting this depending on when the water gets up to this. Once the water reaches the top of this and it starts going down the overflow, then that's too much. Alright, so it looks like it's shut off by itself. with the water level just below what the water line should be. I'm gonna go ahead and see how the flush does with the water at that level, and if it flushes good, then I'll probably just leave it like that. So let me reposition and I'll get back. Alright, so here we go. Let's see if it does a good flush. Seemed to be a good flush to me. It's filling up properly. Water's a little lower in the bowl than it usually is. So I'm going to try adjusting this by turning it. No, that's less. I'm going to turn it to the plus sign to add water. Took the water level right up to the water line. There's a line that says water line on that. If yours doesn't have it, it really doesn't matter. Just you want it right below the top line of the tube at the most, because once it gets up to the tube, you'll run into the problem I had where the water's just running down the drain and being wasted. So we'll try one more flush and see what it does. Right, and the water's still right back to the water line. Looks good there. Looks good there. So we're going to call this a done job. Let's check down here to see if we have any leakage. I don't feel any water there. No water under there. None coming out of here. Yeah. Looks like we fixed the problem. Hey, so it's been roughly a couple weeks since toilet repair, and I have to say the Fluidmaster Universal Performax toilet fill valve still working good. Seems like a quality product. One thing I didn't mention during the video, which I should have, is the reason it's a universal is you can actually extend it out longer if your toilet bowl is deeper and you need to bring the level up higher. So I feel that that part will work on most toilets. As far as the quieter and faster, yeah, it's much quieter than the initial or the previous one that I had, and it's definitely faster at filling up if that's something you need. I mean, you got a lot of flushing going on, then definitely it'd be worth the extra $5. Catch y'all later.